So I wonder, any one of you might have any questions or comments to other panelists' presentation. Yes, Miranda-san, please.
Yes, I'd actually be interested in the case of the Japanese energy strategy. I know that that is to be discussed, public consultation period. What is the possibility that that public consultation will actually lead to changes in the three scenarios? Is this basically three scenarios that are more or less established and there's just room for marginal change? Or is there actually the possibility for a fourth scenario that emphasizes, for example, the energy efficiency you were talking about?
Thank you very much, Miranda-san. And I wonder, any other panelist? Professor Asuka, please.
Yes, can I switch to Japanese? I have a question to Ms. Miranda Shiraz. As we were discussing yesterday, I understood that Germany, you have opted and chosen to move away from the nuclear power. And for the GHG gas targets, you may be reducing that. There may be a possibility to reduce the level of targets for the GHG. Or that perhaps Germany may trying to indicate that to the global community. Could you give us more specific numbers to, in what way would you be addressing this question vis-a-vis the global community? And what may be the reaction coming from the global community? What kind of reaction would you envisage from the international community? Because Japan is also at a very difficult position right now vis-a-vis the global community. And you have mentioned that Germany may in a similar position. So if you could give us more specific details. May I ask another question? Professor Takamura has mentioned about the projection for the steel production. And in Japan, that the steel production may not be reduced that much. And that is the assumption in giving the numbers. But what about Germany? The steel production in the future, what may be the projection and estimate of steel production in the future for Germany? In Japan, the numbers given by the industry have been accepted. But what about Germany? What kind of discussion or debate that has been done or ongoing on steel production?
Panelists, Professor Takamura, please.
Thank you. My question goes to Professor Shukla and Professor Bo. A very quite short, brief question. Is there any impact from the Fukushima incident on your country's energy policy and related climate policy? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm not answering that, but I might have a question
yes.
for the panelists who are from the developed countries. I'm not using the word Annex 1 or Annex non-Annex here. One is that, like in the for reduction of the emissions, well, it's just the emission numbers to attack is not the only issue that we are looking at in developing countries. Even in the Framework Convention negotiations, there are many instruments which are talking about the separate funds for supporting the technology transfers and also for financing various activities, at least the incremental costs of the activities in developing countries. So, and then of course there are already the numbers like $20 billion to be put up on the table now is already been on, and that $100 billion by 2020 every year. So my question is that on these areas, apart from doing your own domestic actions in developed countries, what kind of thinking is going on so that this can also help the developing countries to participate in a more capable way in this mitigation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. No more questions? Okay, so may I first invite Professor Takamura to the questions raised by Professor Shiroz.
Thank you, Miranda, for your excellent and also that makes me quite, upset. So That's a good question. I think this kind of open discussion on energy policy and, of course, related to climate policy is, for us, Japanese people, I think it's a first time. The Council of Energy and Environment is quite open for the fourth scenario. So not only 3 scenarios presented, but also the people have a right to present another scenario to among the public consultation and also public comment. But how the council consider these kind of scenario, we do not know. I think maybe the most important thing is these comment and the outcome of the consultation should be available to the public, and possibly based on that we further discuss and continue to discuss how to proceed to our energy and climate policies. I hope that meets your question.
Thank you very much. And Professor Takamura, could you also respond to the question raised by Professor Asuka on the steel industry? No? Is it to Germany? Oh, okay. So, and also Professor Shukra's question.
And thank you. Thank you for your excellent question. I think I missed that part of Japanese action. In terms of the 2020 target, we are still discussing how to promote the emission, support for emission reduction, and also support for instance, adaptation measures to developing countries. But I understand that in the government, we have been considering the bilateral carbon offset and the crediting mechanism in addition to the Kyoto mechanism. So I think still the bilateral consultation among the interested countries continue, so that I think that we might have some kind of outcome also during the course of that national debate. So that's.
Thank you very much. And Professor Rizaldi? Yes.
Yeah, I just to respond to your question about the impact of Fukushima on the Indonesian energy policy. I'm not quite sure how much actually the influence of this Fukushima accident to Indonesian energy policy. But as you know, that nuclear is not our main source of our energy. So I think so far as I know that the policy of our government in Indonesia is that nuclear is not to be the main source of our energy for the future. But now, actually, by having this kind of tragedy, I think Indonesia also start to focus more on the renewable energy. And then in the presidential regulation issued in 2007, actually the contribution of the renewable energy to the mixed energy policy, national policy is only 17%. Now so we are going up into 25%. That's the new scenario that Indonesian government have proposed.
Thank you very much. Professor Shukra, please.
Yeah. If I add on this Fukushima question, for India, this came at a very inconvenient time in a way, because in India for last almost about 40 years, starting from 1974, when India had exploded the bomb as an experiment, actually, and India is not a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and so India did not have, although India had some technologies, but they did not have access to the nuclear suppliers group to receive the fuel for the power plants. In the agreement which was signed during President Bush's regime in somewhere around 2007 when he visited India, what is known as the 123 agreement,